Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I also will name one book to be a speculation pick of the week. Comic publishers are stepping up their game for your entertainment value. So let's get right into it. First up is Superman Rebirth #1. The new 52 is dead, done, stick a fork in it. DC threw a whole bunch of stuff against the wall to see what works. Peter J. Tomasi is staying on as the writer for Superman, which is a good call. There's also a good variant which looks like this. I would go ahead and pick this up. As you may have noticed, DC has dropped their prices from $4 to $3, but they're going to publish bi-monthly. Next up is Unfollow #8 from Vertigo, which is a division of DC Comics. This is the story of a dying social media billionaire who's going to leave his fortune to 140 random characters, or whoever is still alive at the time of his death. So they start knocking each other off to increase their share of the pie. This comic has already been optioned to be a TV show in the future. I would recommend picking up Unfollow #1. You can get on eBay for about $10 right now, or I would just get the trade paperback when they release it. If you're not following Unfollow, pun intended, then you are really missing a great read. I couldn't recommend it enough. Next up, also on Vertigo DC Comics, is Jacked, the trade paperback. It's the full run of the 6-issue miniseries, which is on sale for about $15. It's the story of a neurotic middle-aged man who's in a midlife crisis, and he takes a smart pill to get out of a slump. But it winds up giving him the power of a superhero when he's got to learn how to use these powers. I was surprised it wasn't a hit because it's written with a sarcastic, snarky sense of humor. Since you missed the comic, this is your makeup by getting the trade paperback. Get it. That brings us to our speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Batman Rebirth #1. You should always get a Batman #1 no matter what it is. It's freaking Batman. The new 52 Batman #1 is still selling for about $160 if you have a 9.8 on eBay, and it only came out in 2011, so any Batman #1 is a pretty big deal, and you want to be on board with that. Next up, let's see what Marvel Comics is up to. And that's going to be Civil War II #1. This is going to be #1 of a 7-part miniseries. The movie that's out right now is loosely based on the 2006 Civil War story by Mark Millar. Or is it Millar? I don't know how you pronounce it. This 2016 story, it has Iron Man pitted against Captain Marvel as our primary adversaries. And of course, Marvel is variant crazy, so you're going to get a whole bunch of them. My favorite is the Team Iron Man variant, which is an homage to Onyx's debut album, Back to F Up, back in 1993. Does anybody remember that rap group? They had one hit. Slam! Da, 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 da. Let the boys be boys. Well, you get the point. Move on. So if you decide to get a variant, just pick out your favorite and get it, but don't pay a lot because the print run is going to be very, very high for this miniseries. Next up is Deadpool issue #13. The cost on this is $10, and here's why. It's going to be 2 issues of Deadpool, 1 issue of Daredevil, and 1 issue of Power Man and Iron Fist all mashed together in the same book. Deadpool is such a hilarious, off-the-wall, crazy character that you can try all types of stuff, and that's what they're doing with his title. Are there variants? Of course there's variants. This is Marvel. The best one is going to be the action figure variant with the Merc with a mouth doing exactly what he does best, talking and not shutting up. Next up is Moon Knight #3. I believe that this character is going to be used in the Phase 4 Marvel project on a Netflix TV show. And this 2016 reboot is going to be the source material for that. In this issue, he has escaped to a subway tunnel, which is right below the mental hospital that was keeping him. Issue #3 also has a stunning variant cover which looks like Egyptian hieroglyphics. I think the comic industry has given us overkill on variants, but when they put out something like this, you should go ahead and pick it up if you can get it for under $10. Next up is X-Men '92 #4. If you're a fan of the early 1990s X-Men animated series, this has the characters, look, and feel of that series. It's a nostalgia book, so only get it if you like the 1990s X-Men. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Enormous Volume 2 #6 from 215 Inc. This has amazing art, and the storytelling feels like a 1950s horror comic. It almost has like an intentional campy goofiness, sort of like the movie Starship Troopers. This issue also has an alternative cover which looks like this. This is clearly 215 Inc.'s breakaway hit. Enormous really works. I'd love to see this on television. Yep, I'll have some of that. Next up is Killbox number 2 from American Gothic Press. They really scored a hit on their hands with this tale of organized crime. The print runs are razor thin on this comic, and people are just starting to pick up on it. That's really, really good. So the prices are going to go up if you don't get one. Go ahead and get Killbox number 1 while you still can for cover price. If you love crime tales, this is an excellent one. Next up is the Power Rangers Pink number 1. Boom Studios has had a lot of success with the Power Rangers beyond what they probably ever imagined. Due to this success, they're going to give each individual Power Ranger their own individual story. And they're doing pink first. There's going to be a gazillion variants. Like I always say, pick your favorite and don't pay too much for it. 90% of the time, variants are never going to hold the price they were originally sold to you at. Next up is Control number 1 from Dynamite Entertainment. It's a story of a female detective in Washington, D.C. who's trying to do her job correctly while navigating through police corruption. Next up is Niobe She Is Life number 3 from Stranger Comics. This is the comic that's co-written by the lady who played Rue in the Hunger Games. I would describe it as ElfQuest meets Warcraft. The print runs are microscopic. You may have to ask your comic book store to order this specifically because they're probably not carrying it. If the premise I described is your thing, then you definitely want to get this. Next up is The Discipline number 4 from Image Comics. There's a secret society called The Discipline that's in a war with something called the Stalkers. I describe it as 50 Shades of Grey meets the horror genre. Next up is Paper Girls number 6, also from Image Comics. This is written by the acclaimed writer Brian K. Vaughan. It's the story of 4 13-year-old paper girls who get caught up in what appears to be the end of the world, Armageddon. This is a new story arc that's going on right now, starting with issue number 6. If you have no idea what's going on, you still can get Paper Girls number 1 for cover price out there. Brian K. Vaughan might be the best writer of his generation. Next up is Renato Jones number 1, which is going to a second printing. If you remember this book, it's a previous speculation pick of the week from me. The protagonist here, Renato Jones, is sort of like an anti-hero. He's a punisher against the 1% of the upper echelon elite. It's high on my recommendation list. This second print is intentionally look like it's burnt up. So here's the first print right here, then compare it to the second print again. That's pretty creative how they did that. Next up is Dark Souls number 2 from Titan Comics. This is the comic that's based on the video game. This is worth buying from the cover art alone, which looks amazing, but the story's pretty good too. And last but not least, Valiant Comics has given us 4001 AD number 2. This is written by Matt Kent. It's the same writer who does Divinity. And I'm telling you what, man, this guy really knows how to write a science fiction story. Issue number 2 is also going to have a 1 in 100 variant, which looks like this, and that's going to be hard to find. It was pre-selling at an average price about $70. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.